Bones are amazing things. They hold us up. They support us. They make us strong. But bones have other uses. In the past, bones were thrown by diviners, seeking out the mysteries of the future. Now the bones are cubes, made of plastic or resin, but they still reveal things to us. As they fall from our fingers and rattle across the table, the story becomes clear. Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater, an RPG actual play podcast.
Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater for this commentary edition of our Capers One Shot. I am Aaron, and I was GM for this session.
I'm Johnny, and I played James Bones.
I'm Jordan, and I played Leon Whisper Carpetti.
I'm Jeff, and I was playing Brando Marks.
And I'm Jeremy, and I was playing Tommy Mouse Marone.
Yeah. All in all, I really like the system.
Yes, the system is enjoyable. It's fun.
Yeah, I think it keeps things moving really well. Again, this is from Nerd Burger Games, and they have a ton of expansions.
You were saying there was like a Halloween kind of themed one as well.
So there's Capers, Capers Noir, Capers Covert, Capers Off-World. So
Covert sounds fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's like, spy versus spy type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's different eras. So Capers Noir is the 40s, and then Capers Covert is the 60s, the height of the Cold War.
Oh.
So, some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really good. What do you guys think of the Christmas-themed fun?
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was absurd.
It was kind of absurd, and we talked about this a little bit in between episodes, right before we did the commentary, that it's a Christmas, feel-good, story, but at the same time, it's got almost wanton killing and destruction. So, if anybody's seen the early Bruce Willis movie, Hudson Hawk, if it weren't for the violence and the language, it would be a kid's movie.
Yeah.
It's the kind of slapstick kind of thing, but still violent and destruction, but it's ridiculous, which is kind of what tonight felt like. Like you got the mob trying to save Christmas.
Well, so the night the mob saves Christmas.
I actually stole the
All through the
idea
streets.
from a movie. I watched the movie Christmas Chronicles on Netflix the other day, which is similar but not really. Instead, Santa gets arrested, and it's two kids who have wrecked his sleigh who are supposed to be helping him save Christmas.
There's a ton of movies where something happens to Santa and somebody else has to help save Christmas.
Yeah, what was that? Wasn't it also in Ernest Saves Christmas?
Ernest Saves Christmas.
And Santa Paws.
So there's a ton of them.
Santa Paws with dogs?
Yes.
It's for the buddies.
I think.
Oh, I know what I'm watching tomorrow.
I think there's two of them.
Yes,
Santa
there are two
Paws
of
and
them.
Santa Paws 2.
Oh, the parents know these things.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, we watched that last weekend. So we've been watching Christmas movies because it's Christmas, and Elizabeth has been choosing romance sappy ones, and I've been eyeing Christmas Chronicles for a month and a half now, and so I finally had the excuse to watch it.
It was a fun story.
Yeah,
it's a fun story.
Good.
And, honestly, I feel like I enjoy what we do in our normal campaigns, but we get dark, and we don't get absurdist very much.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes having a game where you just do a beer and pretzels type of session is a lot of fun, and it's a pretty good amount of stress relief.
It's a breather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you say that we weren't getting dark in this one.
Well, I mean,
we were violent. We were not dark.
No, it was violent, but it wasn't dark. I would agree with that. It wasn't I'm going to off myself.
So I
would agree. It was violent, but not dark.
It was very campy.
Campy was fun.
It wasn't as campy as some of the other stuff we did, Cosmic Patrol.
Yeah,
that was very campy, but it was.
I loved that one.
It's 50s sci-fi. It's supposed to be.
It was
excellent.
Serial. See, I would love to do a campaign of that one.
That would be an interesting campaign. It would be hard to maintain the flavor of it.
It would be.
That's the game where the actual mechanic is that you pass the GMing from person to person.
We didn't do it that way.
We didn't do that before the one shot, but you can do that.
That sounds like fun.
It would be fun.
Wasn't Swords Without Master also supposed to be similar?
Swords Without Master it can get weird.
Like as far as who is in control. Of certain aspects.
Like you can, the way that the dice work in that game, you roll to see who has control of the narration rather than what is actually. You're not determining what happens with the dice rolls. You're determining who gets to say what happens. Which makes it a little interesting. I had a chance to actually do a one-shot at a convention of Swords Without Master after we played it. Yeah. And it really illuminated some things about the game that I think I had kind of mangled when we tried it. But yeah, you can have like different games that give narrative control to people, but Cosmic Patrol is one where you deliberately pass the narrative control, like GMing responsibilities from one player to another.
That's what makes it episodic.
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to be that from scene to scene.
From scene to scene, yeah. So I think with Cosmic Patrol, if you were going to do a campaign of that, it would have to be like the shorter episodes. Mm-hmm. Like, here's your discrete adventure for the week kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which we were talking about that earlier. That doesn't match our play style as well, or at least my GMing style that well.
Well, yeah. No, it's great for one-shots, but for an extended campaign, there's not the big stories and the character growth and development is, I think, what we at least have been focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I think we tend to enjoy that a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun having somebody else GM. I will give you that.
Good.
I had a lot of fun being ridiculous. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't have the idea of getting Molotov cocktails when we were at someplace with more alcohol.
The speakeasy where we started.
Yep. And I'm actually kind of glad because I wouldn't have known how to handle a Molotov cocktail as far as what it would.
Similar to a grenade.
Well, not
well,
20s.
Not really.
I mean, there's no grenade reference in the book.
They don't have any.
As a fledgling GM, it is a little bit easier being able to say, no, you can't do that. Then sure, let's do that and make it up as we go.
And there's one thing about the system that I know Jordan talked about. I don't think it was in session. I thought it was in between, where the aspect of the cards was great. I know a lot of times when we're doing the D6 system, we're saying, all right, what's the target number? So we know what we got to hit. For here, it's almost like there's a mystery. You don't know the number that you got to hit. Eventually you can figure it out, but you don't know the number that you got to hit. So you're taking a chance. You flip a 9. You're like, I'm gonna leave it at that 9. Oh, you missed. It's like, oh, dang it.
Well, and technically with D6, we could be doing that. You know, Jordan could say, I don't know. Roll and find out.
Yeah, but
I do say that sometimes. But when there's an actual target number to accomplish something, a lot of times I'll say, oh yeah, the target number is X or Y. I've kind of backed away from that a little bit. I think I did that more in Terra Proximus and Angel's Guard than I do in Empire of War. Empire War. Element of War.
What's Empire War?
Don't you want to know?
Is that our next campaign?
What have I been missing?
Right?
Sometimes in the D6 system, you kind of have to know.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole aspect of your fate points.
Correct.
Where you have to declare beforehand.
Yeah, beforehand.
If you need it, so you got to know, am I going to potentially need it because this is a high roll that I need to make?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, whereas this one, it's totally chance.
Right.
So you can decide whether you want to stop or not.
Right.
So,
and one of the things that I like about it is there will never be a target so high that it is not possible for you to hit it with what you have in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for D6, if you need to double your die, let's say you start with 4 die and it's a target of 60. You're not going to be able to hit that.
It can be done.
It can be done, but that's a boatload of extra 6s on that wild.
I did it once in Star Wars.
I think I was there for that night. Yeah, we were just like, oh my god! Yeah, when it happens, it's kind of like a landmark moment in the campaign. But yeah, and here you know that everything is within reach, and it might be a couple flips of cards away. I loved the Moxie.
Yes,
Moxie is a great mechanic.
I think what I realized towards the end is that it should be handed out like candy. We should be passing the Moxie back and forth, which is probably why it has the tracker on the sheet rather than tokens. Because if you're tracking your Moxie and you're earning your Moxie back and forth the way you probably could be, that and boons, it would probably keep things moving really good.
Yeah, like there was a time where we're already into the hotel scene, and I'm looking at my sheet, and I'm like, oh, I could have narrated something a little bit differently and probably ended up with a Moxie.
Yeah.
Like my identity is Thrill Seeker. So in the warehouse scene, when you were asked, like, can you see the roof? It's like, yeah, I can see the roof. It's like, wait, I could have said, no, I see 30 feet in the air on the edge of the roof and dive into Santa and hopefully come out with enough momentum to make it onto the roof. And that would have, like, I would have had a Moxie.
Yeah, it's all about, like, the Moxie kind of pushes your narration.
Right.
To be a little bit more adventurous. And I loved that in the last episode that we did where I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Dignity to the nines and I give this whole monologue about what's going on in my head and then like the Muppet running across the room.
Yeah, it's similar to some other aspects like Mini 6 when you take your complications and your things like that where you at some point are going to make a conscious choice to do something that is detrimental to your goal for whatever. Like when Tommy was fighting Billy in the lobby and decided, I'm going to take a turn and not do anything just to make sure my hair is good.
Yeah.
And,
you know, like, and it probably was just for our game tonight, like my character, it was really hard to do the things to collect the Moxie.
Yeah.
Correct. What was yours?
You know, I had changed somebody's opinion.
Oh, yeah.
You could have changed Santa's opinion.
You know,
especially since there was so much combat.
Yeah.
That was...
Yeah, the pacifist you don't want to kill.
Well, you
did a lot, actually, with that. You knocked a lot of people out.
And then greedy and envious of other people.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's just, for tonight's campaign, it just didn't lend itself to it.
I think the anchors do work better over a longer game than a single session.
Well, I will say there's some of them that I think worked well for what we had going on tonight. And some of them you could see working for a longer game. So
I really like the idea of those being left up to chance.
I do too.
I do too.
Building.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
It kind of forces... Well, it's a good exercise as a role player. It forces you to, this is not something that is going... I'm not choosing for myself. It's kind of like, I've got to work this aspect in.
Right.
And so I'm going to do my best at it.
Right.
And you kind of commented on that. And it's like, because I think you set up the campaign for the story for us, expecting us not to be so bold and go into things.
No, right.
But then I'm looking at my identity and I was like, Thrill Seeker. He's just going to go in and do it, which is not anything that any of my characters probably would have done. My long-term characters would have done.
Right.
So, So it caused me to play this character a little bit differently, which I guess not knowing what would be chosen for people's identities, you kind of set it up for this is how we typically play. So,
which is the way I built the characters was kind of like I tried to think through how we would typically run something.
Yeah,
I think it was funny you guys were calling me Silver Tongue because in the long-running D&D campaign I was a part of on Friday nights, my character's name was Iada Silvertongue. So I was like,
I called you Silvertongue ironically at first.
Well, no, it wasn't because you had your skills for your character were kind of that you were going to be the schmoozer.
The face guy.
Yeah. But then in the first chance you had, you kind of like threw everybody under the bus.
Not on purpose.
I know it wasn't on purpose, but at the same time when... You said, we're working for the Russos, and then
we're like,
you had to
this is a finale.
But you had to backstep, and then you started to say, no, we messed up the Russos. And then my character and Jeff's character are the ones that have the traits that are like,
loyal
and reliable. We're like, what do we do with this?
I know.
That was great.
I totally expected Jeff, you to pipe up and say something.
Yeah,
and I was like, we're going to have to fight our way out of this.
So that was kind of awkward because my headcanon was, if I'm this guy who's going around getting himself into trouble and feeling all the pain, my thought was that when I found out that Jessie was a girl, my thought was that I had been dating her on the side. And so...
See, I could tell that's where you were going with it.
Yeah.
Good that it wasn't because... Jessie is actually Polio's girl. Albert, the guy you get.
Albert's girl. Yeah, I didn't know that. That would have been perfect for my character, though, from a Moxie perspective.
Yeah.
So my plan was to walk in and go, oh, yeah, she knows me. She's my girl. And,
but then she didn't recognize you.
Yeah.
I like how the first half of the evening was a lot more role-playing and acting. And
then things just kept on ratcheting up.
Kept ratcheting up to... nothing but flipping cards and shooting guns and killing people.
Nah, it was good.
I know, Aaron, you came with characters like halfway pre-made.
I appreciated that.
Which is great. I'd be interested to know on how they're actually built. Like, was there a list of powers that you could choose from?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and you could choose the different boosts that you wanted? Okay.
So your abilities are from a list. Your traits, you get 1 as a 1, 1 as a 3, and then the rest are 2s. That's how everybody starts out.
Yeah. All right. That's I was noticing that.
But then the powers, it's got a huge list of powers or perks if you're an exceptional, and then a bunch of boosts within those powers.
Okay.
And again, if this were something larger, if it were a campaign, you can always build your own. You can design your own powers, depending on how free or how open you want to get. So,
like for the ones that we had, were there more boosts available than were played with?
Yes.
Okay.
In some cases, many more.
Ooh. And I assume that as you go on with that character, maybe you could spend stuff to add those boosts.
Yeah, through advancement, you can get quite a bit of.
And that's what the second page is room for extra
equipment.
Extra equipment, extra powers, extra boosts. And then each of those, it costs a different number of AP. You earn 2 AP per level, and it takes 2 AP to level up one of your traits or one of your powers. That's kind of how it works.
I really liked how you allowed us to customize the look of our gear. To me, that was a lot of fun because it was what matches my personality as this snappy dresser? Oh, I'm going to have a walking stick with a crystal ball on it.
Yeah, and some of it was laziness on my part, and some of it was deciding that you guys probably are going to have better ideas for the character that you're wanting to play by the end of the night. So, but I just wanted some generic, some of the really quick stuff, as well as this really involved stuff like choosing the powers, because
that can take some time to sort through them all and choose them.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably 20 different minor powers, and each with 5 to 7 different boosts, and then probably about as many major powers. So for everyone to try to look through and pick those powers and those boosts, I figure let's build something that's going to work for the session.
It would have been great if there had been some elves who had betrayed Santa or something.
That would have been fun.
Well, you kind of know how Jordan has been GMing, because when we got to the penthouse, I think all of us, Johnny may have even said it, we're expecting this double cross or something that was inside of that room.
Yeah, there's a Fresnelli inside of the room.
There's a Fresnelli, and no, the Russos are actually inside the room.
I
asked, are there any voices that we recognize?
Oh yeah, Jordan, you were the one that said this.
And that wouldn't even cross my mind.
It would have crossed my mind.
I actually thought of it too before Jordan said it. Actually, that was one of the first things I thought, right after the warehouse. I'm like, okay, I know the warehouse here in our space, but how do we know that this isn't actually a Russo plot?
Well, yeah, and that's why Tommy, when he rescued Santa, just removed the bag, saw it looked like Santa, and put the bag back over him, because we weren't told anything. It's
exactly.
We think they may have captured Santa. It might be Santa. If it is, we need to get him back. So Tommy's thinking, all right, check to see if it looks like Santa. If it is, we're just going to take him to the Russos.
Yeah, that was my plan too. Once you have we don't have to keep a mask in the show. Let's take him to the Russos. Let's take him to the boss.
I was like, boss wants to know if this is really Santa. Let's let him figure it out.
That was my
it looks like Santa to me.
That's why I was like, should we call the boss about all those plans before we go anywhere?
I'm glad I searched the office, though, because if we hadn't searched the office, the address for the hotel wouldn't have popped up.
Yeah, I had some other thoughts on that.
Okay.
Or get you somewhere close.
Especially if we didn't search the office and we never ungag Santa. We just
just go back to the
resource. And then they'll be like, you idiots, where's his bag?
We got Santa.
We would have figured it out.
Oh my god.
I like how I made the comment, so now we gotta find your bag, right? Aaron turns to me and goes, have you read my notes?
Okay, I just assumed the bag was still at the sleigh.
No, because he was delivering presents. So the bag was, of course, on his back.
I was assuming there was some kind of twist that was coming at that point. Okay, we got Santa. That was too easy. What happened now?
Yeah. And back to how characters are created, because one of the things that I was noticing, and I think we said this in game a little bit, because Jeff's character, he had all the moxie.
Oh my god!
Like all the, because it was so easy for him to get moxie, and then my character, as a actual caper and not a, what do they call it? Exceptional. Just the free will use of your power kind of makes it, the way Jeff was getting moxie and the way I was using the power, we were a little overpowered. I think, because I think that's what led to, oh, you weren't supposed to rescue Santa here. Because I kept just like dimension stepping until I caught up with him and was able to do something about it. So
I wonder if there's any actual restrictions on mashing the powers.
Right.
So I know they're supposed to be on trem gear, but it also talks about the difference between permanent trem gear, which is what the exceptionals have, and let's say if I just give trem gear to a regular, because that's the third type of NPC, is the regulars. And it talks about only a certain number of uses. It really doesn't discuss for capers. I did not see something about a certain number of uses. I also am curious about the different types. Because yes, when it's a free action, it can definitely become overused.
Yeah, because at one point when I was fighting the gangster, Billy, I was just thinking, oh, I'm just going to keep dimension stepping behind him.
Yeah.
Just force blast him every time I dimension step, and he's going to be having, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And it's like, and I don't have to ever flip a card for anything.
Right.
Other than, oh, this is your damage. Oh, this is your damage. So it'd be interesting to see if there's a way to balance out that type of stuff.
I liked playing villains in this game. I'm wondering, like, what it would be like to play the cops who are trying to capture them.
So it does give you that option, and to either play as, and then it's the same ideas. Capers could still become law enforcement.
Okay.
Or, let's say you're an ex-caper who then got recruited.
Caper lawyer.
That would be maybe an interesting game or story to play, where you were only allowed to play as regulars.
Oh.
In the caper world, and you had to.
So then if you want powers, you have to get through trem gear.
Yeah, you have to come across some trem gear somehow.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought would find a limitation on that is your traits are hard capped at 3 as a regular and as an exceptional. Whereas as a caper, you have the ability to get the power to do it. As an exceptional, you have the ability to get the trem gear to raise your traits above that, up to a max of 5. So that would make it difficult, because there were some of the NPCs that are listed here in the book that have target defense of ace. So you're not hitting them unless you roll an ace. So let's say
that was another question. So that's the number that you have to flip. So it's like, if my body is 9,
it has to be a 9 or higher.
9 or higher.
Yes.
It doesn't have to beat the body. It has to match it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like this exceptional that has a body of Jack.
Jack Black? Or
the body of Jack built.
Or Jack Bauer. Very different.
Very different bodies for very different functions.
And those are just exceptionals, not even...
I'll take Jack Black for my
capers. So when you're talking some of these capers, body queen, yeah, it can get really difficult to start hitting some of these.
Yeah.
Which would be part of the thrill.
Yeah.
But all in all, like I said, I really like the system. I probably butchered some of the rules, but it was still fun.
One-shots are a little more lenient with rules than full-on campaigns.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we realized halfway through, it's like, oh, we should have been doing this.
Well, even after extended periods in the campaigns.
Yeah.
Done that.
Oh, yeah. What was it, halfway through season 2 of Elements of War? It's like, we should be rolling perception for initiative, not agility.
Because it was agility and mini
six.
So we had just rolled with it. That's what you get from switching from one system to another, and they're almost nearly identical.
Yeah.
You're going to have some issues. But thank you for bringing a new game to the table.
Yeah.
And,
it was fun.
and you said that they've done another game that you're interested in as well.
So I got this as an add-on to another one that I backed called Good Strong Hands.
Is that from
Strong
Never Ending Swords?
Probably.
Yes.
So it is
Let's play.
It is a dark fantasy, build your world collaboratively. And I'll tell you what, so I have the PDF now. I got that a couple days ago. So when I actually get the book, we'll definitely pull that out for a one shot.
All right. So that's on the list to play as a one shot. And then there was the one that was the Stargate.
Did you back
RPG? That? No, but we should play that because I don't know how many times we have referenced Stargate. Usually it's just me and Jordan.
Yeah.
That reference Stargate, especially during Terra Proximus.
Yeah, so for Good Strong Hands, it'll be an exciting one.
I backed Kingdom by Ben Robbins, the same guy who did Microscope. He's released a second edition of his game Kingdom. And Kingdom's a lot of fun. And then I've got a game called Shiver, role-playing in the strange and unknown. So another...
That sounds like up your...
Oh yeah. I think that's kind of my jamming strength is actually horror. And then Xenolanguage, a game about first contact. Where you're...
Sounds cool.
Actually, it really is pretty cool because you have a mat in the middle of the table and then a planchette, kind of like an Ouija board.
Oh.
It actually involves a soundtrack, too. Yeah, they're getting creative with some of these RPGs.
Oh, definitely.
Well, and part of the thing I don't like about getting creative with them is more and more games are going to the hybrid technology systems.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of that myself.
I backed one game that had some stuff on it on the phone and some stuff on dice. And some cards that you could scan with the phone and get.
Yeah, I remember we tried that.
We tried it. It didn't work out as well as I wanted.
Yeah.
Oh.
But now they've switched it all to be completely on the phone. And I'm like, you've lost my interest.
Yeah. I like the physical aspect of games. I don't want to have to pull up. It's fine to pull up the PDF to reference things. Mm-hmm. But that's the extent I want my technology to be involved in my game. Mm-hmm.
Although I think it is interesting to see how technology is changing things. Like, I think virtual reality for role-playing games is going to be sooner rather than later with, like, Oculus or something like that.
Well, yeah, but these are going to be more first-person shooter type.
I don't know. I mean, like, because you can do things with other people in Oculus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like doing, like, tabletop simulator.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we could sit and play Capers remotely, VR, or on our laptops, and all look like we're sitting at the same table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm imagining at some point there will be like tabletop RPGs that work in some kind of mechanic with that, and I hope it's a cyberpunk game.
That'd be cool. That would fly really well.
At one point, I wanted to run a cyberpunk Savage Worlds game where you're playing cyberpunk as the standard setting, and then there's like an MMORPG that you go and play in. That's actually a Weird West setting or a pirate fantasy setting. So then you jump to another Savage Worlds game setting and go with that. But anyway, those are conversations for other times, and we played Capers tonight, and we really enjoyed it.
It was lots of fun.
Yeah.
We had fun capering through the snowy streets of unnamed city.
Chicago Light.
My knowledge of Chicago extends to 20s gangster movies and Harry Dresden.
All right. Live long and prosper. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Feliz Navidad.
Happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah, yeah.
Happy Kwanzaa.
And any other holiday you want to celebrate this time of year.
Happy Boxing Day.
And Festivus.
Happy Life Day.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Bone Throwers Theater. We are releasing this podcast under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. That means you can share the podcast, but please do not modify it or try to gain financially from it. If you would like to visit our website, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater.com. If you would like to send us an email, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is bonethrowerstheater. You can also look us up on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, may the bones fall ever in your favor. This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.